that, I'd like to ask Chief Hicks to speak for a few minutes on local angle.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for everyone for coming. My role tonight is just to give you a basic overview of the responsibility of oversight and basically licensing of those who not only own but carry firearms and also sell firearms in the town of natick. Under the Massachusetts statute, the oversight and licensing falls directly onto the chief of police for local police departments. And just so I can be clear, when I say on the local police departments, are those who are residents or have a business or own a business in the town of natick. There are other possibilities that come under the law, we call non-resident applicants for firearms licenses. That falls under the state police. I'm going to focus more on what we do at the local level. Under the statute, we have the responsibility of reviewing and accepting and reviewing every applicant who comes forward for a license to carry. Now, license to carry is for the ability to carry concealed, in small arms concealed, and also what we call FID, or firearms identification cards. Now, firearm identification cards allows possession of weapons, mainly for hunting, and also for smaller items such as mace, pepper spray, etc. There is a difference. I'm going to tell you the law gets to be very complicated. We have to update ourselves and on many occasions on the guidelines and requirements under the law. From my perspective, I'll be the first to tell you I have someone assigned, Detective Ed Arena, who does an excellent job of keeping track of all the items and all those who are licensed and have responsibilities within the Commonwealth and within the town of natick. But let me tell you about the process itself. In order to be able to get any of these applications to be suitable, eligible for any of these, you have to file an application. Now, that's the first step. The application comes to the police department, and then we do a review of that application. The review of the application includes looking at criminal activity, criminal record, any past activity we may be aware of. And there is a portion of that that talks about mental health and any issues of mental health that occurred in the past. The responsibility of ensuring that this is done, again, as I say, falls with the local police departments, with the limited, and I'll say limited, databases and ways that we have to do our investigations. Now, when it comes down to looking at an applicant, there's many guidelines and requirements, or what we call disqualifiers for someone not to be able to carry a weapon, which is embedded into the statute itself. Certain crimes that have been committed, especially violence crimes, the law clearly stated they are not suitable or not eligible. Meaning, if you have a violent crime, an assault and battery, anything to that extent, you are statutorily not allowed to have a firearms license in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's clear. That's the easy part, to a certain extent. At the same time, another portion of the disqualifiers, as the law states, is mental health issues in which you have been basically treated by a mental health facility that records it in a database that we have access to. Just want to expand on that a little bit. What it does is only certain databases that we're going to be able to get access to. So if someone has a mental health issue which is involved in a program that records that into the database, we will be aware of that. If that does not occur, then the fact is we don't know about it. We aren't aware of it. So those are under the statutory guidelines that what can be disqualifiers. The other part which can be a disqualifier, which comes down to the opinion of the local police department, is what we call suitability. Now, suitability can be defined in many ways, but it comes down to if there's activities or things that happen in your past that we feel, or at least I feel, through my staff and through Detective Arena, that you are not a suitable candidate, we can deny your permit and request an application at that point. Now, there's many ranges and things that we can look at suitability, past history, consistent activity which is not consistent with a gun owner who we think is going to be responsible. No, it's a very difficult area to look at, but we look at that. That's one of those areas you can look at also. One other thing that I have to, I would say I put in that area of statutory disqualifiers is also domestic violence. If you have a restraining order against you in the court, or even a warrant, an existing warrant, you are not eligible to have a license to carry. So that's the general guidelines. I know Representative Linsky is going to spend a little bit more time on the specifics of it, but that's what we start off with. So we start off with an applicant who comes to us for one of those reasons, whether it's a license to carry or a firearms identification card, and that is a process that we go through. And each applicant is evaluated and investigated thoroughly, very thoroughly. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of in-depth work that Detective Arena does very well. And we have, the policy is simply that based on the guidelines of the statute, there's a right to carry a firearm up to a certain point. And if you don't fall within these guidelines, or if you fall within the disqualifiers, we are not going to issue that. Let me talk to you about an applicant who may be denied, because we do deny a number of them. The applicant who is denied does have a right of appeal. And the right of appeal goes to the district court judge, where they can present their case as to why that applicant was appealed. And the guidelines and standard that's used by the judge at that point is whether the chief was capricious in the way that the decision was made. Meaning that I have to be able to explain that that particular applicant and applicant's particular application was denied for a specific reason that falls within the guidelines of the statute. So there is a line of appeal above the chief of police that's embedded into the statute itself. And that's where the appeal ends at the judge at that point in time. So that's the overall application. So someone comes in, they make application, they file an application with their fee, investigation is done, there's no disqualifying factors, they're determined to be a suitable candidate, they get issued a license. At that point, the oversight of that license falls within a number of different ways, but really the ultimate responsibility comes back to me. So that licensee is in a database, which anybody in the Commonwealth has access to. The police department has access to. So there's certain, their biggest part and the most important thing for me and most chiefs is that they are responsible, say it again, responsible gun owners. Now, they have to fall within the laws and the guidelines of storage of firearms, purchasing of firearms, and etc. If for any reason that they don't fall under those guidelines, in other words, a license is issued, it doesn't mean it's issued forever. Now, there's still a responsibility as an owner and as a licensee to fall within the guidelines. If there is a violation of any kind that we feel, and the chiefs have become pretty good, if I have someone in my community who violates a domestic violence situation or any thing that they think is not, that should affect suitability, whether it be in this community or anywhere else in the Commonwealth, because of the database that they're in, I will be notified. And if I'm notified, we have the ability to both suspend and revoke a license to carry or an FID card. So it's not as if it's issued and it's carte blanche. There is oversight to the point that we still have a responsibility to ensure that all those who are licensed under the town of Natick is adherent to the guidelines and the laws. So that's the individual. Let's talk about the firearm dealers. Trying to be conscious of the time. We also have a responsibility with firearm dealers in the town of Natick, and that is for those who sell firearms themselves and license those who sell ammunition. Two separate needs to be issued. Now, I can tell you, Detective Arena, as I said, is very thorough. In fact, I think it was about a month ago that I said to him that I want to go and inspect each and every one of our licensees. And I did it on the spur of the moment, so they were not prepared when I go out. And there's certain requirements that we look for in their facilities. It's the licenses that have to be posted, the record keeping they have to keep as to what comes in, what goes out, the security of the facility they have, They have certain federal guidelines as far as recording the guns that come in and go out. There's a responsibility of us in Detective Arena. When I went out, every single one of them, although it was totally unplanned, showed us that they were adhering to all the guidelines that not only we have, but the federal guidelines, and that's a testament to the work that he's done with them. I went in and asked for specific documentation and records, and all of them were right there, ready to be seen. So that's the oversight of what we have for those shops that sell and buy and also sell ammunition. We have oversight over them, and there's some federal oversights and reporting that they have to do also. So all that was done, and all those who are licensed passed as far as the requirements we have, and we continue to do that. We don't tell them we're coming. We just arrive at their door and we ask for the documentation. They have to give it to us, and they have no problem doing that. So that's the oversight of the gun shops. Finally, I just was supposed to speak just briefly on where gun shops are allowable. It's a retail business. Now, and as long as they're within the zoning, they have the ability and the right to operate like any other retail business, unless it's they're zoned out. As I say, especially in the downtown area, there's a number of licensed shops in which we visited and made sure they adhere to the guidelines, and all of them have and all of them done. I do not have the authority under the guidelines, under the federal guidelines, under statute, to determine where a licensed dealer is. That falls under the bigger zoning issue in the city and town. But those gun shops that operate in the town of Natick are doing it very, very well. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief.